because I was on LinkedIn and read his post, and he said that he had a failed startup. I was like, and many of you in the feedback forum, I want to hear failure stories, Elizabeth. I want to hear about that, and I thought that would be really interesting to learn from your experience. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for coming. I always enjoy talking in front of a room of people because I don't get the chance anymore that often. I'm often in front of a screen and then I talk to a couple of people. And the worst part is to be in front of a screen and talking to a full room of other people that you see in one little screen because they sit in a meeting room somewhere. Very different dynamic. So my name is Lucas. I don't have one of those beautiful name tags. I wonder where they are. I would like to get one for later. Because if anyone is going out for drinks afterwards, I have leave from home to actually grab a drink. I have a little boy, 1.5 years old, and he was not very happy for me to leave. But he's going to be asleep by now, so that's that's fine. We use the time that we get. Nice, thank you. Perfect. Here we go. Hi, my name is Lucas, as I said, and there was already commented that it's very seldom to hear people talk about a crashed startup. And I wouldn't use the word that Elizabeth used, which is a failure. Yeah. Because what is a failure, right? It's a very negatively tainted word. So I don't like to use that. I don't regard myself as a failure, but this talk is going to become very personal. So you're going to get to know me it's important that I get into the zone to actually talk about a couple of these things that have been pretty tough to work through. So this is a short list of things that happened in 2018. I finished my master's degree at NTNU. I started a company together with my one co-founder, Lars. You're going to see a couple of pictures of him later. You learn to pitch very quickly when you start a startup. And when you immerse yourself into the Trondheim startup culture, there's a lot of things happening. There's co-working spaces that arrange things. There is NTNU does a lot of things. There's very many different of those bigger players that have recurring events. So people tend to gravitate towards these, and you will meet a lot of the people that you meet in one event. You will meet them several times. And you have heard that networking is important. That's the key, right? You have to go to all of them. You have to go to every one of the meetings that is just remotely gives you a chance to pitch, gives you a chance to learn, gives you a chance to talk to as many people as you can, grab all of the knowledge that you can. I have a couple of tips in a slide at the end, so you don't need to sit and take notes. I also have a summary for you later. I became obsessed with self-improvement and productivity hacks. It was like you have to organize your own work day. Because I had nothing else to do than to do my startup. And that is super tough. It's like you need to fill your calendar with meetings, you need to start talking to people, you're trying to grab hold of coaches that give you pro bono work because you don't have any money. So you talk to random people on LinkedIn, it's like, can you teach me something? And they're super happy to share normally. You have like one meeting every month and you try to grab like 4 or 5 different coaches and talk to them regularly. You pitch to them, you ask them questions, sometimes they have some input. So you need to really self-organize, you need to exercise, you need to eat well, and just having been a student, you don't eat well when you're a student. You don't have money to buy good food, you don't have the time, so you need to make the time and start pitching. We collected some investor money, that's friends and family, F&F, friends and family. You go to them, you pitch to them, you say, you want to invest in me? And then you hope for the highest amount possible, and you try to make a case for how they can get their money back, right? We did it not selling shares as is usually done in a startup, which makes people part owners. We actually just asked for a loan. We said, I want a loan. I hope I can pay it back to you. I promise you I can at least pay back what you just gave me, but we're also trying to increase it and give you a good return on your money. That money that we've collected back in 2018, that's still there. We haven't used it up. And I'm going to talk about money a couple of more times during the talk because it's super important to not start burning the money before you have an existing product. We built a team, we joined an accelerator, and I ran out of money personally for the first time. That's all in 2018. There's a couple of pictures. I immersed myself in the startup community. That's me up there. That's in Oslo. Oslo Innovation Week. I worked as a volunteer. And when you work as a volunteer and you show people that you're dependable and you're available and you work tiny bit more than most of the volunteers, you're being put into the cool role. So I was the personal responsible for the hostess, the person that has to go up between all of the different talks and have her microphone check and tell her where she needs to go. So that was really cool. The guy that's on the left there, one of my best friends now, he's a French guy that I met in Oslo Innovation Week. He has a startup himself now. These kinds of events, they attract people that want to build stuff themselves. They want to build their own startup. They want to build a team. Maybe they were looking for someone. Very, very useful to be around. Doing that. It's a lot about volunteering in the beginning. I didn't even talk about my startup yet. We're still in the summary. We won some free office space, so some of the pitching turned out great. Some of the pitching didn't turn out great. We learned a lot of things on the way. I ran out of money again. From running out of money 1 to 2, I took out some money out of the startup, so I needed to get my own rent paid. But I had to look for a part-time job because it really quickly showed that we didn't hit the gold mine. We didn't find the right way of making money, and that's why I needed a part-time job. I looked for tourism, so I became a tour guide in Trondheim. It was kind of close to what we did. And I also started to work part-time now in the company that I'm with right now, which is Health Tech. The company's called Vital Things. Top left is pitching. Top in the middle is a house that we tried to sell. Top in the bottom is me teaching a guy how to segue. We were all about Facebook Messenger chatbots. We were doing technology. We were trying to get people motivated to do physical activity. On the left, that's me pitching at Startup Extreme. Startup Extreme, have you heard about it? Anyone? Yeah, couple maybe. A festival in Voss, close to Bergen, and they combine extreme sports with startup. It's amazing. It's venture capital, it's angel investors, business people, and startups, and they merge, and then they just go skydiving and water rafting together. And they have this cool concept where you sit in a kayak and you pitch, and when the investor didn't like it, he flip you. You're in a pool. That was amazing. Yeah, and that's me talking to loads of tourists, because that's how you what you do as a tour guide. You do a walking tour or a bus tour. You get to talk in front of a lot of people in different languages and explain the history of Trondheim. That was the short roundup. That's 1.5 years about, from 2018 to 2019. I'm going to share some of the old presentations that I had when I prepared for this talk. It was that was memory lane. I went through a couple of the slides that we had. So this was what we were building. We were building a company called Enry, and Enry is a short form for energy. So we wanted to get people energized. And we wanted to motivate people for physical activity, sports motivation app. And the app part we just added because, okay, what do? We use technology and we want to motivate people for physical activity. That was our starting point. And that was the kind of motivation and naivete that we had to, okay, somehow within this year that I had funding for myself, we wanted to figure out if we can come up with a product and build a startup around it. That was the motivation. I gave myself 1 year. I had the funding for 1 year, and that's what I did, together with my co-founder, who he was still a student at that point in time. So we did some mock-ups. We tried to create what would later. We never built an actual app. We just made the mock-up, and people said, "Oh, cool mock-up. Can you? Is this going to go forward?" We didn't have any developers. We didn't have the money for developers, so this died quickly. But we tried to defend the market size. People ask you, "Okay, what is your market size?" It's like, what kind of market are you going into? We had no idea. We said, well, Norway has about 4.9% of GDP goes to sick leave. Norway is very, very high in that regard. And we said, we're going to cut down sick leave. We take 1% off of the sick leave, and we calculated the market size, and that's what we said. We said, this is $4 billion. This is our market size, right? A couple of numbers, right? It's naive, and it didn't work, but it was always worth a laugh. And if you get people to laugh in a pitch, you've done at least something. And then you have to be more bold, because you take a catchy headline and you say the world is getting fatter and no one knows how to stop it. Yeah, Henry knows. We know. We didn't know, but we said so. Anybody knows what this is called? Like you don't need to read the specifics. It's like, what is this setup? It's called a business model canvas. You try to set it up to explain your business to somebody else. It has a couple of very clear, that's what we learned from Innovation Norway. When we ask for money from Innovation Norway, they teach you what a business model canvas is, and they force you to write down your business in the form of a business model canvas. And look at some of the things that we wrote down here. It's like a revenue stream. How do you earn money? Okay, you can earn something per user for your app, for example, but then also you earn money on investments. That doesn't make sense at all. You can't make money on someone that gives you money. Not really. You're building a pyramid if you're doing that. And then we had another part here where the investors that wanted some solid return on their investment, those were one of our customers. We put investors as customers as well. So we're earning money on the investors and their customers at the same time. Didn't make any sense. And of course it was called out. And you have to draw some hockey sticks. We had no idea of what we were selling. We didn't know what price. We had a couple of early companies that we thought we might land. That was like the ideal customer that we wanted to have, and then we were drawing up some numbers just to show a hockey stick because people want to see that. Never show this. This is like it's a project management tool. It's a Gantt chart. It's like which activities do you do and which months do you do. Do you see that? It's like there's so many overlapping activities. They happen all the time. This doesn't tell you anything, and it's too much detail for anyone to understand. So bad slide. And then we scrapped the app and we built chatbots. Let's go a bit further. Team slide, always some activity, physical activity. Those were the 3 people. We were wanting to build chatbots. We actually did build one. It was called henry.chat, and you could talk to it on Facebook Messenger. It was all me answering. It was all fake. It was all try to get people to use what you're building, and we had the idea. We wanted to build a chatbot for table tennis scoring. So you play table tennis, and people like to play table tennis, but they don't keep score normally because it's hard, or they don't know what happened in this game, and they compare it to another one. So you could just take track. And we were calculating. We had 80 people playing table tennis, setting their scores with us, and I built a huge table in Excel, and I calculated who won against whom and who was on the top. And we did that for a couple of weeks, and that was fun for the people involved. And we tried to build that into a product. It proves that there's interest, and it proves that maybe your product goes into the right direction. We then went from chatbots to chatbot. We just built one. Okay, we focus on one thing. So you can see how many iterations you go through these slides when you do the pitching. And then things are like there's a company called NTNU, and they work together with Babson College in the US. They call it the Babson Challenge, and that pushes startups to build a pitch that focuses on one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, good health and well-being is natural for physical activity to be going for. So we're rebranding our whole slide thing, and we were now focusing not only on building software in itself, but actually building hardware. We called it the Henry box. And a couple of more people, again, a new person joining the team. People go in and out of the team. We were recruiting mostly students. We didn't have anything to pay, so they stay until it's not fun anymore, and then they leave. We had a value proposition. We were building a hardware product that could connect to our chatbot, because we still wanted to make the chatbot happen. It's on your phone, right? You have it in your pocket. You have it with you all the time. I still think it's a smart idea. Of course, Facebook, after some time, I think it took 2 years, they killed the chatbots. Don't exist anymore. I think it had something to do with the GDPR. They weren't able to fetch the right information that was necessary, so they just scrapped it. So this the QR code that you saw, the round QR code on the very first slide, doesn't work anymore. And that's really critical for a startup that's trying to build on top of existing infrastructure. You're always dependent on that infrastructure to be existing for forever if you don't build your own tech backend. Loads of information. That was hardware. Trying to build a slide that again explains what is the market size. We didn't have a product, we didn't have paying customers. How do you calculate a market size? Well, you look at what the Helsedirektoratet says in one of their reports. They calculate it for you. They say you can save 900 billion kroners if you make people be more physically active. That was actually their conclusion. And then 8 of those are directly connected to sick leave. So again, try to cut down on sick leave. There is a lot of money to be made. You can save companies a lot of money. Another slide, huge numbers. Not really recommended. It doesn't work like that. It's maybe Live Scientific can sign that. It's not the way to do business properly. But what did we learn during these things? Like we had a slide, okay, what are the next steps? That's still Babson challenge, all of those things. You show them what your plans are. You want to go there, there, and there. Those are the steps that you want to do. We want to finish that box. Right now it's our prototype, but we want to show you that it's working. So please give us some money so we can make it work. Never happened. This was a bigger venture. Actually, we used some money on Enry rentals. Team is bigger, you can see it. There's a couple of more people. Some of them are still joining. We made some beautiful pictures. We actually went out one day, it was sun out. One of the team members, Marvel, she dressed up and we took bikes. The bikes we bought from Oslo. In Oslo there's a company called Oslo Bike, and they sold us their electrical bikes cheap. It was a chatbot e-bike. Again, chatbot. It was amazing. It worked like a charm. You could scan the code that's on the side with your phone. You didn't have to download any app. You were talking to the chatbot. The chatbot says, how long do you want the bike for? You say you book it for a day, cost you 50 kroners, and then it says put in your card details, and you were directed to Stripe. It was amazing. Now it doesn't work anymore because chatbots don't exist anymore. But it was a cool project. That was 2019 in the summer, so the summer before COVID hit, and the last summer that there was actually tourism on the level that we know now. But it was also the summer where all of the electric scooters came. So Trondheim was flooded with electrical scooters, and people found the scooters so cool that they didn't book our bikes. I think we made a little money, but I think we made half of what our investment was. So we lost some there on the bikes. More pictures on the bikes. They were super cool actually. It's small wheels, powerful engine, and the battery would last for a good period of time, very easy to charge. More pictures from our photo shooting. And now you understand why I went into tourism, because I was like, I want to push this. I think we need to get tourists moving more, because I was doing bus tours with people that were already overweight. They came from a cruise ship, and they go into a bus, and then you talk to them. It's like, okay, get on a bike or see the city from a different point of view. We switched pace a little. That was bikes, that was chatbots. We still didn't make any money. And this was the beginning of 2019, where I got to know a very interesting person, one single individual that I met during an accelerator. And I just realized he was so smart. He had a very high IQ as well, which is in most social contexts, that's a negative. So I was like, okay, you need to grab hold of that guy. He's gonna make some magic at some point. And he was interested. He had a contact to an Italian company called Madi, and they build prefabricated A-frame houses. They have a factory in Italy. They build those houses in the factory. They fold the house. They put it in a shipping container, ship it to a place, and set it up within 2 days. 2 days, you have a full house. It was amazing. Fairly cheap, very high quality, extremely good insulation and all of what you need in Norway. Small, quite small. One container, I think, built a house of about 20 square meters, and then you put 2 or 3 together so it becomes bigger. Still 2 days to build them. It was like a dream come true. And we had no money, and if you want to do anything in real estate, the first thing that you need is a place to put stuff. So you need to either buy a place to put it, or you rent it, or you try to figure someone out that wants to co-invest and build a house. Maybe someone that has a hyttefelt and doesn't yet know what kind of hytte he wants to put on it, and you are able to sell it. Didn't make it so far, unfortunately. I still think there's great potential there. Again, we did build a team. This guy is an architect now in Belgium, and this was the smart guy. He's now in Dubai doing actual real estate. So he became a real estate agent, working in Dubai. This is how I draw a business card when I talk to a designer and I say, I want this business card, can you make it nice? So I drew this. You can see a bit what the setup is supposed to be looking like, minimal site impact. You can build them on water. And the smart guy, Leon, he actually wanted to build it floating. He wanted to build platforms which would work any place in the world, especially in a fjord. You don't have that many waves. You actually you can make those things very, very heavy and floating so that they don't move much. Actually much less than a boat would, for example. Still a dream that I think in like 10, 15 years I want to do these things. It was so interesting when we talked to him. So that was fast. That was fast forward through about 1.5 years of intensive startup experience. I have summed up some of the things that I've learned, and I want to segment it into these 3 areas. The 3 areas being for different types of people, because not all startup experience work for all kinds of people. The first one is quite general, and I'm going to reiterate some of the points that I saw in your slides as well. The thing about luck, for example, is you can influence your luck a lot. One of the first talks that I heard in the accelerator where we were was a smart guy. He said he called them flaksballer. He called them luck balls. So he was juggling with luck balls, and it's like you have to just make more of them. You throw them in the air, and sometimes you're going to catch one. You have to create them yourself, and network's definitely one of those things that pushes that. But remember, well over 90% of startups fail. Depending on which market you're looking at, depending on which country, it's slightly higher, slightly lower. Over 90, it's super unlikely for you to succeed when you try to build a startup. Why should you remember that? It means that you need to surround yourself with people that can work hard and you can have fun with. So you need to build a team. Extremely important. Super high success rates are connected to good teams. And if a team was able to do one startup, their chance is higher to do a second one and a third. This is why you want business angels and consultants with you that have done these things before, that know how it worked. Those are the people that usually you have to pay a lot, but some of them, they just give stuff out for free. They can be coaches. Try to find them. Timing, super important. And for life scientific, I think timing, you can write a book about that now. Timing is not something to be planned, really. You want to be at the right spot in history with the idea that you already had. It's very difficult to react to something that's happening. That's super hard because you're going to be too slow. You want to be with a group of people with an idea, and then something happens in the world where it's like, this is our train. The train is running. We need to, and we're already half pace, so we need to just accelerate to get onto the train and jump on it. Timing. Execution. Nobody can teach you that. That's I don't know, other people have to talk about execution. It's really, really tough. You need to do the right things, and you don't know what the right things are when you're doing them. Sales is one important thing. It's like you need to sell all the time. The CEO is an important salesperson, but he also needs to hire a salesperson that's responsible for that. And then these two people need to figure out. That's what we're doing in Vital Things, for example. We have one salesperson, and we're a health tech company of 25 people. That means that the salesperson needs so much support. They need everyone to be on board. One step back. Small increments get adopted faster. You can write that down. That's important. That means that if you want to build something that's huge and it's going to change the market forever, it's going to take you forever to change the market. If you have a small increment, and that increment is not only 2x, because 2x is good. You want to be 10x on whatever it is. You want to be 10x. You want to be 10 times better than what exists before. Then you have a really good shot at a startup. And it can be something that's super boring, or that is very expensive and you can make it cheaper, or you want to do something that is already adopted. People know it already. You don't want to create your market from scratch. That's super hard. Part of what we're doing in Vital Things, actually. We're doing technology that is a bit far removed from what people are used to. So hard to sell. Very, very hard to sell. Large innovations may take years to stick. We're preparing, we're plowing the ground. We're preparing the market for what we're offering. And technology especially is really difficult to get adopted. That is the general, that's for everyone. Those tips are very useful. If you have to grow up, if you're not the kind of, I'm a student, I want to do something and have fun during a startup, then you can go to the last box. That's going to be the end of my talk. But if you have to grow up, do it differently. If you want to do startup, but you have a family to support, you have a kid, you need a stable income. That's number one. Do you have a stable income? Then you can do some playing around. You try to create a team that puts in equal effort-ish. You try to build a team where not one person does everything and the other one does 20%. You want to do 50-50 if you're two, and you want to have 4 people ideally that do about a quarter. Maybe one person that does only 20% and the other does 40, but you want to match it about, because otherwise you're going to quarrel about who owns what kind of shares, who has what responsibility in the startup. Try to create an equal team effort. Pilot all the time. Try to put something out into the market, pitch it, see what the response is. Get users. And first, when you have users, it should be very cheap to get the users as well. Grow the base, get the users to talk to each other. Try to grow it, search synergies. It's a slow approach. It's something that you do when you have a stable income. It's something that I do right now, actually. Next to my full-time job, I try to keep a startup alive. And we do those things. We try to build slowly, we search synergies, and then you see when the rocket takes off, it's then when you jump the ship. It's then when you exchange your stable income with the startup dream of that's then going. So you're already through the valley of death, as I called it before. It's like you're already through this, you see that the rocket is there, and then you can jump. So you prepare this next to what you have as a stable income. Not before, don't jump off too early. But the fun part is here when you're young and free, and I know that a couple of you people at least are here and want to do this. Do volunteering everywhere, whenever you can. People are looking for people with too much time on their hands and energy and wanting to grow their network. Say yes to everything, don't say no. It's like if somebody asks you to do something, do it. You don't expect to be paid for it, because you're going to be paid in experience. If you get paid, even better. You can say yes for sure. Pitch all the time. It's like the pilot all the time from the center here. Is the pitch all the time. It's when you're young. Tell everyone what you're doing. You're gonna get a lot of no's. Like, what are you doing? Why did you think this? This doesn't make sense. Continue. Do it. Do crazy shit. But prepare to land hard, because you're not gonna succeed. It's the 90% rule, right? So if you're in that tiny bracket, it's probably 99%. It's probably the 1%, and you're not going to be in it. But it's not that important. You do the first startup, maybe your second one is the successful one. You're going to learn the things, and if you're super lucky, maybe you get the right team, you get the right timing, and you do the right execution. Then you're going to succeed. And pivot constantly. If the one thing doesn't work, do something else, or you keep. Try to keep your original idea alive, but pack it differently, sell it differently, do a different kind of pitch around it, try to find something that resonates with people. It's all together experience. I'm going to keep this slide up and open up for questions. Thank you. You don't have to put yourselves into one of those boxes. It's you could just ask questions for whatever you're interested in. Christian, please.
So you still, after going through all the stuff that you have said, gathered so much learning. you're still kind of in the entrepreneurial spirit. You still like it?
Yes, absolutely. I try to get back more into it.
Yeah.
Anybody of you went to Trondheim Startup Gathering event that was happening on Thursday last week? Nobody went there. It wasn't so good, actually. It was a try to get the Trondheim startup scene gathered, but all of the talks that they were from big companies that were not really relevant. I was kind of disappointed, I have to say. And the stands, we had a stand there with the side hustle that I'm trying to keep alive. The stands were all very early stage companies, very kind of new. You're a student startup, you do part-time stuff, and you just try to sell an idea. It was nothing like in between. They weren't able to do the proper connection between very, very early idea stage startups and the big companies that did the pitches or the presentations.
Yeah, I just have to comment to it because I was invited a couple of times. Yeah, you want to kind of participate because you haven't signed up. And then I went into the webpage and you had to apply in order to have a stand or to pitch. You have to apply. So, I mean, are there really that many startups in Trondheim that we need to compete on who is going to have a stand? It's like, and then I was annoyed and I was like, well, not for me, thanks.
Right.
I kind of, yeah, and I really, it's not really the paid forward culture that I would like to have.
No,
I'd like to have, I mean, we should have all the startups that
It
we
was
have in
expensive
Trondheim.
as well.
So, yeah.
You had to pay full ticket price if you want to have a stand.
Yeah.
And
So I probably should have told them directly. I mean, none here is probably responsible.
no.
It's like, yeah.
It's important to know.
That's at least why we were not there. Anyway.
No, I get that. Absolutely.
What was like, how did you decide the moment, like, okay, now we know we need to move on? Like, what was that, like, conversation?
I don't think it has ever happened. Actually, I just ran out of money. I still think that we can use technology to get people moving more.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen somehow. Enry, the Enry AS is still a registered company. It's a every year we put in 0 in the regnskap. We send it to Brønnøysundregister. We keep it alive. It's still there. All the investor money is still there, right? So we try to keep it alive, and we do different projects. And right now we have a project called Cal1, which is a calendar-focused innovation, and it's going to be for students first. It's going to be paid forward, free student software. And it's going to transform the lives, and we can just do it because I have a stable income and I can do this. And my co-founder is still a student. He's one of the people that collects the most ECTS that he can, just doing startup stuff, and we keep it alive by doing that. Do it next to a full-time job. So we keep it alive. It's I don't think it ever dies though.
Okay.
If the bug bites you, it's something that you don't really want to kill.
Yeah.
I have
Sure.
a question. The first question is how you manage your money from the first inventor. And the second question is like when you were running out your money and how you keep your teams on and.
So very good questions, and I promised to talk more about money. I actually didn't, I realize. So that's an important question to ask. We didn't pay anyone apart from myself. When I ran out of money the first time, I took out some money out from the startup. But we always worked with students, and it's not entirely true, because when we had the e-bikes, we also paid a guy to drive after the e-bikes and do the GPS thing and charge the batteries and stuff. So you have to pay people for certain things, but mostly you try to grab people that want to help you prove the idea is right. So they're with you a couple of months, maybe full-time, maybe part-time, maybe we had an intern from France, and his university paid for his stay because he was doing an internship with a Norwegian registered company. We could do that. We didn't have to pay him anything because he was paid by his university. And he was so motivated. We actually got him a job in a different company afterwards because we knew that he was super good. So we did some recruiting work. Everybody's happy, right? So you don't have to pay people in cash all the time because most students are paid by a student loan or a university. That was another part of the question. Yes, how do we manage the investor money? So when the investor money came in, it comes into a bank account and then you don't touch it. That's what we did.
Did you need that money?
the question is, do you burn the money just because you have it? And our answer to this was, we can't burn it before we know that there's more coming in than there's going out. We didn't want to crash the startup. And maybe that crashed it in the end. Maybe that was the reason why we didn't succeed. I don't think so, because if we had thrown money at, you've seen my slides before, you've seen the idea stage that we were at. We didn't have the solution. And if you throw money at a non-existent solution, then it just disappears. Now we still have the chance. We still can use it for something useful.
Sorry, I don't know if you're Norwegian or not. No. Yeah, good. This is good. I just wanted to know at which level you think it's crucial to have a Norwegian within the team. I mean, I've got the impression that it's quite difficult to convince Norwegian investors if you don't have any Norwegian
Good
members.
point. I think it's a good point. At what time? As early as possible. But if you speak Norwegian, if you learn Norwegian, then you can try to sell yourself as so interested in the Norwegian culture that you're part of their network. They want to talk to you because Norwegians are always impressed when you talk Norwegian to them and you're not Norwegian yourself. No matter how broken in the beginning, and then you get better, but you need to work on it. It's like, this is one of the huge tasks. I did this when I first came to Norway. When I studied at the university, I took 1 year, and instead of working next to my master's degree, which most students did, I had the funding to then say, okay, I sit down, I learn this language properly. And I became fluent in the course of that year, and I speak fluent Norwegian now. So it's very, very useful to speak the language. Not only then you attract another Norwegian onto the team, but also you can kind of hide that you're not local for a certain period, at least for a couple of pitch minutes that you get, an elevator pitch, 30 seconds. If you can get 30 seconds, another person doesn't know that you're not Norwegian, then you made it. But it's hard. I think
you always had a Norwegian member in your team.
Yeah, but that was
I
because
remember.
my co-founder Lars, he's
Yeah,
Norwegian,
yeah.
so that's very useful, of course. But he was 5 years in the US. He did a startup in Silicon Valley before. But it's very useful information to have. More questions?
I have one last question. What questions do you feel like you would ask now that you didn't ask before? Like, okay, 90% fail. What questions do you know better now to ask before launching into idea, or if you're talking to someone about their idea?
That was tough.
Yeah.
I know a couple of things that it's trying to, either you're in the startup game to learn, and you're there to build something so that you can learn how to build, or you're in the startup because you already have a stable income and you do it on the side. You try to get hold of what you actually want to do. You're trying to figure out what is it that you can do. So it's kind of two-part, I would say. Part is, are you in it to win it, or are you in it to crash it? Do you do the long game? Do you have the time? Do you have 5 years? That's what it's going to take. No, very few people have that. 5 years, if that's your mindset. I had 1 year. I tried to put everything into 1 year and get a proof of an idea. So maybe try to buy as much time as you can, but also make this time as intensive as possible. You need that's the pitching all the time, right? Pitch to everyone, try crazy stuff, try a marketing stunt, try to push some money on Facebook and see what happens. Maybe it explodes, possibly not. I think it's a bit. You can't force it, and it's super hard to sell anything. You heard it before in the talk as well. To sell new things is very, very difficult, but if you can build something that is an increment better at something that already exists, and then you're trying to aim for between 2 and 10x, likely closer to the 10x part, you have a chance to succeed. If you scan that QR code, you're actually going to find a summary of the slide, the last slide that I did, and you can also find LinkedIn contact details and the website of the startup that I work with. Yes, so yeah, it's a dashboard actually when you go there. If you have any more questions, I can throw some other stuff up there. Very useful tool, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you so much.